Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Tom Rivera, and I'm part of the committee. The committee is the exploring the oral history of Colton from 1990 to 1960, and we're here at the Fowle Library on the fourth floor, and we have the dean of the library to do the welcome for us, and that's Mr. Cesar Caballero. Cesar, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, thank you. I noticed you didn't say Associate VP, you said Mr. Caballero, but it's okay. Next time. Thank you. Welcome to the library, John M. Fowle Library here at Cal State San Bernardino, home of the headquarters for the Colton Oral History Project. We're very proud to be sponsoring this project, along with, of course, the folks in the committee, folks from Colton. And I'm very excited to have Mel Salazar here, who's going to talk to us about his mother and other important leaders from the Colton community. Again, welcome, and I'm sure that today's proceedings are going to be very important to building the oral history collection that has been started here by Dr. Rivera and others. That I'm sure will be extremely valuable in creating a valuable history for future generations.
Well, thank you, Cesar. We truly appreciate your support, especially in the realm of putting this project into the archives, where it'll be available not only to our students here at Cal State, but also the community at large. So thank you so much.
Well,
and our guest, as I mentioned before, our guest this afternoon is Mr. Mel Salazar. And Mel, welcome to Cal State.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us this afternoon. Mel, let's kick off the interview.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned that recently your mom was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Tell us about.
Well, I nominated her, and there were six, and they picked 4 out of the 6, and my mom was, I'm going to say lucky, because she was going to get in there. The way I set it up, there's no way they could have said no. Because there's some that, if you don't make it this year, you can put it in next year. But I did this just because years ago I found 2 little small snapshots, and my mom was in uniform, and I still have that uniform. And they got the ball rolling. Back in '98, they had the Colton books that were written by 5 individuals from Colton. Bobby Vasquez was one of them, and I gave the picture and the story, and they published that. And then so years ago, with a project here at Cal State, I saw, but I thought it was just going to be men's teams until I saw women's. I says, click. So I got all my mom's stuff. I brought her uniform and all the info I had on her, and they did a great job.
For the Latino Baseball History Project.
Yes, the books
which resulted in this book.
Right.
And your mom is in this book, Mel?
Yes.
What page is she on?
33. Did you want
Page,
to?
no, that's okay.
Anyway, 33, and then she's towards the last and that's her recent picture with her uniform. She's
And what
now
was your
89.
mom's name, Mel?
Carmen Lujan. They used to call her Carmi.
Uh-huh.
And
Is she a Coltonite?
yeah, she wasn't born in Colton, but she was here since she was 3.
Okay.
But the whole family was here on Walnut Street, which was a dirt road, like a lot of streets there in Colton, where, it's like you mentioned one time, the Mexicanos were invisible. They paid their property taxes, but as kids, it was dirt. And when my mom, in fact, the picture she has where it was a dirt road. We called it, later on, I called it Tobacco Road, and that's the way it was, We were invisible. We didn't get the good stuff.
Yeah, but we got the rain and the mud during
yeah,
the season, so no problem. Listen, tell me about how old was your mom when she started playing ball?
Well, according to what I read, it was back in '36, and she played till '39, and then she again after the war, because my dad died of rheumatic fever. He didn't die, fighting. He was drafted late. He was already like in his middle 20s. And the reason for that is because he already had 2 kids. He worked for Consolidated in San Diego, which was a government job. They built planes. But within a year, that's when he died. So But my mom was already playing ball before that, and then after the war, that's when she was playing with the Cherokees in San Bernardino.
So más o menos, how old was she in 36 when she started?
Oh, she was 12, 13.
12 years old?
Yeah. That's why during the induction, I wrote down, I said, well, she and that team are the first all-Latina. I said, that is a legacy they left. And now you look at Carimba, and they got big leagues there. Ken Hubbs has the softball league.
You've done some research on your mom's team.
Right.
Were they all from Colton?
They were all, those, yeah. Not, the Cherokees, there was 3.
No, but when
Oh,
they
yeah,
started
the
ball game,
Senoritas, yeah.
the name of the team was Señoritas?
Yeah, somebody was telling me, they were the Mercury Senoritas, and then somebody told me they were the Mercurettes, but in her uniform, it says Mercury Senoritas, so
Okay.
I'm going by
all
that.
right, all right.
In fact, they had the Mercury name before the men's team had it.
Now, the men's team started in 39,
Yeah.
so I guess they started in 36.
Yeah.
But tell me some of the names of the girls that played with your mom.
Yeah. Got them right here. One of them was Lucy. Just barely found out her name was Lucy, like my wife, but they called her Chita Garcia. And then there was Luz and Linda Arredondo, Mary Rivas. I found her daughter. Mary Rosales, who's related to Robert Rosales and
Beto.
Beto.
Yeah.
That's Robert and Socorro and them. I know them well. Then there was Estela Pimentel, who married my mom's brother. So she became a Lujan afterwards, but she was on the team. Mary Soto, she married Pancho
Frank
Chavez, Frank Chavez.
Chavez.
And Betty Caldera is the only one that haven't found a picture of her. She lives in Hawaii. I heard she's the only other one that's still alive. She lives with a sister. I've talked to her nephew and a lot of people, and they don't know anything. So I'm just hoping to get a picture. In fact, what I was going to do, I called Harvey Kahn. I don't know if you know Harvey Kahn. He's a writer for Courier, and he does a lot of sports stuff.
Mhm.
In fact, he gave me a signed ball by Camilo Carrion, who's my wife's uncle, who was a major league ball player for the White Sox.
Mhm.
And I'm going to get a hold of him to set up an article. Where are they? You know, I'll give him all the info, and maybe somebody will read it and say, "Oh yeah, I know
Mhm.
the grandkids or the wife or somebody," so I can get back. So I want the family there during the induction. You know,
Oh, now, when is the induction?
it's going to be in April. I don't have the definite date,
Okay.
but I'm working with
And that's with the city of Colton?
City of Colton. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So right now, that's where I'm at, but I've got time to get that last picture, and I got to set it up how I'm going to put it in the plaque, because it's a beautiful, beautiful place. If you ever go in, it's nice.
I was going to ask you, who did they play against? What teams did they play against?
They played against San Bernardino, Riverside, Belltown, Casablanca, where my dad was from, which was it was a rough area back in the 40s. And that's who they played. In fact, I went to Casablanca the other day to look for my dad's, where he lived, for my grandma. And I remember as a kid, the ballpark was like across the street, maybe a block away. Well,
Mhm.
I couldn't find the field, but there was a school there, and then way in the side, I could see an old ballpark, and I'm pretty sure that was the old ballpark.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
found the house, but it didn't even look like it,
Mm.
because they tore it down and put a,
So they had an active schedule, right?
yeah.
When they
yeah,
played all those teams to the different
Right.
areas.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It wasn't Southern California, it was just the Inland Empire,
Mhm.
because they were pretty young, you know.
And how many years did your mom play?
Well, I'm thinking from 36 to 39. The exact years, I'm not too for sure, because, you
Okay.
know, I didn't get a lot of the information. My mom now got dementia, so there's a lot of stuff that I don't know. But I know she did play, and I have her uniform is the proof.
Now, you know, back in those days, females were not allowed to
Oh,
play ball or leave the
Yeah.
house.
it wasn't feminine.
How did she manage to? She must have had liberal parents.
Yeah, well, my grandpa was very strict, so I don't know. But like I say, I wasn't there. But there's a story in those monthly things that they send out where a lot of women weren't allowed because they were girls, you know.
Right.
And back
Well,
then,
especially in Mexican culture.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So But my mom played for several years,
Mhm.
and
What position did she play?
that I didn't know until I talked to my Estela
Mhm.
Pimentel, who eventually married my mom's brother. And she just died about 3 months ago, but I asked her before that, what position? She said third base, so I gotta go by that.
Okay.
I heard Chita Garcia was a pitcher. Very good ball player.
Mhm.
Luz Arredondo was huge. I mean, compared to my mom, of course, my mom isn't tall, but she must have been at least 5'10", maybe.
Well, the Arredondo
size?
family is very, very
Yeah.
tall.
5'10".
Yeah,
Well, I heard there was a Johnny, her brother was a big, tall guy.
Yeah, they were all, Manuel
Yeah.
and everybody else, they
Yeah.
were very tall people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But there were several other girls, Mary Soto, Mary Rivas,
Mhm.
and Betty, I want to get at least a picture, even if I can't get the family there,
Mhm.
so I can make the picture they're gonna put on the plaque, because I never could find a team picture. I found Cherokee, but there's only 3 girls there that are from Fulton. I can't use that,
Mhm.
so I'll just make up my own and make sure I have all their
You
pictures.
mentioned that your mom played till 1939, and then she played afterwards, you said.
Well, she was in high school till 41. She was a sophomore. I think she was a sophomore. And then voila, I was born the next year.
Uh-huh.
So that's when ended her high school career as a sophomore.
Mhm.
And then she got married, but in 1945 is when it was me and my brother. And like I say, he died in 45, just a little before the war ended. A rheumatic fever. If it would have happened now, he'd probably still be alive.
Mhm, mhm,
But he was in Fort Lewis, Washington, with nobody. He died by himself, and that's what kind of.
mhm,
But it was that quick.
mhm.
So
And then did your mom play ball after that?
yeah, with the Cherokees. That-
And
the-
what years were those, Mel?
those are, I'm thinking, for 3 years, I think 45, 46, 47. right
Okay.
around there.
Up until the late 40s.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they were called the Cherokees?
the Cherokees.
Yeah.
But that was a group of, like a travel ball, like that travel, and they get kids from different cities.
Mhm,
Yeah, so that's what she did.
mhm.
But like I said, I never heard about that until I found those little 2 snapshots of my mom in her picture. She has one where she's like this, and another one she's like a first baseman, third baseman, waiting for the throw.
Do you know what her batting average was?
Oh, no. No.
We can't make one up?
Yeah, probably 650. Yeah, yeah, but, and like I say, I don't know, I was gonna set up this induction or this nomination for my mom, just her. But I'm thinking, what about all those other girls that people are forgotten? A lot of their kids probably didn't know they played. I found that out, that they didn't even know they played ball.
Well, you know, I was surprised when I saw your mom's picture
Yeah.
in the Rudy Serrano and Bobby Vasquez and Rudy Oliva
Yeah.
monograms that we had a female baseball team. And
Yeah.
I said, I'll be darned, I better
Yeah.
check into this one.
Yeah.
And in talking to your mom,
Mhm.
did she ever talk about wonderful memories that she had about playing baseball?
You know, when I found those pictures, I was already an adult. And she never talked about, she used to say, well, yeah, I used to play ball, but I thought it was at school, you know, GAA, because even the high schools didn't have teams. The boys did, where they play other schools, but GAA was just intramural.
Mhm.
So,
Now, what's GAA?
Girls Athletic Association.
Okay, at the high school.
Yeah, you
Okay.
see the old annuals, they're just there in their white tops,
Uh-huh.
but they wasn't, they didn't play other
Mhm.
cities.
Mhm.
They just amongst themselves.
Okay.
But now they have them all. They got soccer, softball,
Mhm.
Colts. I mean, they've been champions for a lot.
But she never mentioned any wonderful memories she had about being a ball player.
Oh yeah, just that she enjoyed it, and you know the women she played with. But as she got older and I got more interested, by that time her dementia started, and I don't remember. Oh yeah, she did play ball, but but right now, as long as she still knows me, I'm happy.
Yeah. When did her dementia start?
She's 89. She'll be 90 this year.
Oh, okay,
So I'm saying a good 5, 6 years ago, where it was really starting getting,
Mhm.
but,
Yeah.
but like a lot of that stuff is before I was born,
Yeah.
and when I was only 3, so I don't know a lot.
I was going to ask you, you mentioned a few minutes ago that there were a lot of good ball players in Colton. You know, we had a lot of
Oh.
people that came from our barrios and were able to play in sports and participate in sports. Besides your mom, who else can, and beside the girls that played on her team, who else can you remember as growing up there were good ball players or good representative of Colton in the sports area?
Well, I'd have to start with Camilo Carrion.
Who is Camilo Carrion?
He was my wife's uncle. They had, Socorro Carrion was his mom, but Socorro was my mother-in-law's mom from a different husband. She was a Rodriguez, but her dad died and then married Miguel Carrion, who was Camilo's. So it was half-brother, but they're still the same mom.
So Camilo was born and raised in Colton,
Exactly.
went to Garfield's High School.
Yeah.
Went to Wilson Junior High School.
Yes,
Went to Colton High School.
right.
And
Graduated in
was a-
56.
Was a four-year letterman at Colton High
Oh,
School.
yeah, 4-year, all the sports. He was like pre-Kenny Hubbs.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-Kenny Hubbs, and I think he was drafted, and he was, I think the first year that he played Major League Ball was in 59.
Mm-hmm.
And they had just brought him up to the major. In 59, the White Sox went to the World Series, but he didn't go because they had brought him up too late.
Mm.
So, but he played
And
several years
How long did he play with the?
with the White Sox. He was, I think, 4 years, and then he went to Baltimore 1 year. No, to Cleveland a few years. He played a total of 6, 7 years total.
Mm-hmm.
And but he wound up retiring at I think it was Baltimore. But he wound up retiring at Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
His boy Mark Carrion made the majors, and I've told everybody because he played for the Mets. He played for Detroit 1 year, and then he went to San Francisco. Got to play with Barry Bonds,
Mm-hmm.
and and he played a few more years longer. But I don't know of any other. I'm talking about Chicano. There was a lot of blacks and a lot of Puerto Ricans, father and son. Maybe, like I say, other Latinos, but Chicanos born and raised in California or in wherever. I don't know of any. I can't name one other father and son besides the Carriones.
Besides Camilo, and we do have a street in Colton named after.
Yes.
Carrion Street, Carrion
Right.
Boulevard.
Right.
What other heroes do we have that came from Colton?
Well, if you want to go, well, I knew the Abril twins. I didn't know them that well. I know them now. In fact, one of them lives up the street from me, Manuel and Ernie. They graduated, I think, in 1950, 51. But I've heard through the grapevine, those guys were better than Camilo and better than Kenny Hubbs. I hate to say it, but that's what I've heard.
Mm-hmm.
Their problem is when you get twins, exact twins, one's a lefty, one's a righty. I think they call them mirror twins or something. There's a word for that. So they were both drafted. They played in the minors, and one of them was doing a little better than the other one. I forget which one, if it was Manuel or Ernie. They said, okay, Ernie, I'm going to just pick Ernie, just because I don't know which one was which, but because nobody could. That's why they called them the cuates. Nobody could tell who they were, so they just, hey, the cuate, hey, cuate. So whenever we see them, hey, cuate, and they were used to that. So they said, we're gonna send you up to AA, let's say. And he said, okay. And my brother, he's going up. No, not yet. He'll be there next month. I says, he says, no, if he doesn't go, I'm not gonna go. And that's what killed their career. That's the story. I haven't heard it from them, but that's what I've heard. And we gotta know that you don't split twins, in something like that. You just don't.
So they were inseparable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mel, ¿quién más? Who else that came from Colton? Do you remember anybody else?
Well, if you want to go way back, this is my next project as far as back in the 30s.
Tell us about
I've
your
got
next
another project that I'm going to, hopefully I can do, that these are before even the Mercuries, who started in 39. I'm
Right.
talking guys in late,
1916?
well, not that far back, late 20s, 30s, early 30s. And you had Because I've already got pictures of them. In fact, I donated a couple of those pictures. They didn't put them in the book, but they're real long, so it's kind of hard to. But they were the, I forgot to say, Odie Abril, which was Manuel's, going back to the Abrils. He signed, didn't make the majors, but I think he went to triple A. He
And
did well.
He's the son of one of the Abrils,
Manuel,
Manuel.
Manuel.
And he went to Colton High School.
Exactly, yeah. Very good athlete. He was a good baseball mainly.
Mhm.
And he played for the Red Sox. There's Camilo Canhabs.
I'm gonna have to run, but
Yeah.
están en su casa. Nuestra casa es su casa.
Okay.
Make yourselves at home.
Okay.
And I will see you later. Eh?
Oh,
Okay.
thank
But,
you,
thank you.
Thank you,
Please
Cesar.
continue with the interview. I will
Good to see you.
later.
Thank you
Good
so
to
much.
see you all.
All right.
Luego.
Nice seeing you.
Thank you.
Okay, back in the third, is that still running? or-
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they had they called them the Colton Centrals. Then later on, they were a combination of San Bernardino, Colton Centrals, but the main players there were the Casarena brothers. There was 4 very good players, and I mentioned to you, this is like the blacks during the 20s and 30s, where they were as good or better, a lot of the major league players, but they were invisible. We were invisible. And so you had those 4 brothers, and you had
Who are the brothers?
the brothers were the total. There was 4 that I know of.
Okay.
Arturo, there was
Casorena.
Casorena, Sal Casorena, whose daughter became the teacher.
Sylvia.
Yeah. Then there was Porfirio,
Mhm.
and there was a Pio. That's what I said. Well, that's the same guy. Well, I talked to Tommy Casorena, whose dad was Porfirio, and he said no, Pio was another brother.
Mhm.
I don't know how that happened, because usually short for Porfirio's Pio. But those were the 4. And then you had Milton Noriega, who late 20s, early 30s owned El Sombrero. It
He was the
a-
owner of Sombrero.
Yes, yeah. Dance hall. And there was a couple of brothers, Joe and Ambrosio Gonzalez. Then there was Juan Hernandez, which is Luis' dad.
Mhm.
Luis Hernandez's dad. Then there was Tilo Duarte. There was a Teo Duarte, but Teo was his son.
Okay.
Teo played later on with
The Mercuries.
yeah.
uh-huh.
And then there was Andres Negrete, and then I found out Cayetano Calderia, who's Chon Calderia's dad.
Hmm.
I didn't even know he played.
Mhm.
I called Chon the other day because I'm going to be needing all these guys, all the sons, to
Mhm.
put because I want to nominate them maybe next year. Because these guys, a lot of people didn't even know they played or never heard of them. They're lost, you know? And if you don't do something like I did with my mom and her team, and like I say, you have to put them in a team, because my feelings, I was just, like I said earlier, I was gonna just put my mom, I said, no. A team's a team. You need all the good, the bad players, and no good players to play, not just one. So I'm thinking, if I can do this, they won't just be lost and forgotten, which is already happening. But if you have their picture there in the Hall of Fame,
No, it's very, very timely, because I had no idea that we had these ball players that were very active in the late 20s and all through the 30s.
great ball players,
Mhm.
great ball players.
Yeah.
The cement plant had a team too. In fact, one of the players,
The Portland Cement had a team?
and a couple of the Arturo and Sal were on that team, and
Uh-huh.
there was a Joe Gonzalez and John Hernandez, Luis' dad, was on that team, and then the others were Anglos.
Mhm.
One of the Anglos, he's in the Hall of Fame at Colton, not in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Gordon Maltzberger.
Oh, yes, he played ball.
Well, he played with the Casorenas.
I'll be darned.
So, and those guys were good enough to play with him, and then he went on, played Major League Ball. He was a pitcher for the White Sox. So, like I say, there was probably a lot of good players from Colton that they just didn't look at him as major.
Well, never got recognition.
They were
Like you said, they were invisible.
invisible,
Yeah.
and it's sad. But it's But if we don't do something, or if I don't do something with their sons, they're gonna be invisible if we don't do something about it and put them. But I already have their picture at the museum,
Mm-hmm.
because I know Mike Murphy pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Now, who's Mike Murphy?
he's the one that runs the museum. You guys know Mike. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
good guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. His wife and I graduated same year, and then his mom and my mom were in the same grade also, so.
Mhm. So everybody in Colton is related?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can't talk bad about it.
I know. Now, let me ask you, besides this project, I know this is kind of a project that you're getting yourself into right away and pulling up your sleeves, sweater sleeves, and getting into it. You also mentioned that you'd like to do something about the Mercury organization.
Yeah, they would be, what I'm gonna do is do this first, the older guys first.
Okay.
Because Mercury's, there's still a lot of alive. Some have already passed because most of the Mercury guys are in their 90s.
Mhm.
The guys I want to go after, they're way over 100 years old. So they'll be the next one,
So
my
they'll-
project.
Okay, this will be the next project after this one.
After the old guys, yeah. The ones that are over 100 years old.
Okay.
There's none of them that are alive
Mhm.
there. But because the ones from the original Mercury's from 39, I can't do them all because they went to 1970, in the 70s. I would just have to go after the early ones.
The 40s and the 50s?
Yeah, yeah, like Camilo and the Cuates and those guys. But I still won't have the picture of all those. I mean, I'm gonna just go after the ones that were in that picture I have
Mhm.
with Beto Rosales and
Mhm.
there was Baker Martinez, who I think the parents owned the Martinez Market.
Yes, bakery, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Martinez, you know.
Mhm, Nick
Yeah,
Martinez, yeah.
And the Suchos,
Mhm.
so. I'm gonna be busy, so.
Very busy.
So
very-
hopefully I can do it. And I'm sure I'm gonna get their sons
Mhm.
and relatives to help me out because, to get extra information.
Mhm,
So that's what I plan to do.
mhm.
So I'll be
Now,
busy.
Mel, where did these old timers, Porfirio, Castorena, and those fellows, where did they play? Because the Colton ballpark didn't get started until 1939.
That's something I found out because the pictures I have, excuse me, I thought it was the old Veterans Park. There's
Mhm,
South Colton.
mhm.
No, there's on the corner of Rancho and Aguamanza,
Mhm.
okay? There's a corner there where they stock carnival stuff. I know you've probably
Yes, I
gone
know
by.
where that is, yeah.
That's where that park was.
Mhm.
Juan Caldera built that. Juan Caldera built the plunge that was on Fifth Street, which was all in that same area.
Mhm.
He built a bull ring for bullfights.
Mhm.
Of course, he had a nightclub too, dancing, a dance hall.
Uh-huh.
And this is a guy, early entrepreneur, you know. This guy did a lot. Well,
And
he's
what years were these, Mel? The 20s and 30s?
probably the 20s and 30s, yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah. And Betty Caldera's his daughter.
Mhm,
So out of that big family, I'm trying to give me a little picture, that's all I want.
mhm.
And that's the last one as far as pictures. But then after that, I have to go after their relatives so they make sure they can be there at the induction.
Mhm.
Because if there's nobody there,
So these ball players played at Caldera Field?
yeah, there was the Cubs Park, they called it. Corralón, I think it was Corralón, they called it the Corral or something, but they called it Cubs Park too,
Mhm.
which I never even knew there was a ballpark there.
Did the Portland Cement Company have a ball field?
I heard they did, and I'm not sure if that was their thing, but then I heard that they had another right there on Rancho too,
Mhm.
so there was probably two parks there. I never saw that one.
Mhm.
And the plunge, going back to the plunge that Caldera built on, that's because we couldn't swim at the municipal park
Mhm.
plunge. We weren't allowed.
Mhm.
The only day was on Wednesdays when they were gonna change the water.
Mhm. Mhm.
I heard, my generation before me, I don't think you went through it, at the new Colton Theater. One side for the Mexicanos, other side for the Anglos.
Mhm.
Now, they had the Hub City, I remember that, there was two, now I haven't heard anything about them.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying is true. I haven't
Well,
heard
that
from-
was a reality back then.
Yeah.
It was reality back then that, and we had the barrier the border, which was the Southern Pacific Railroad.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
The other side of the
that was
tracks.
part of it. Anyway, let me ask you, you mentioned that your dad came from Casablanca?
Yeah, but in later years, he went to high school at Banning High, 4-year letterman. I've got his sweater. He was in, not baseball, he was in track and basketball. So, in fact, I got a picture of my mom where she's wearing his letterman, and I still have the letterman. But I gotta go back there, and I want to look through the yearbooks, because I don't know. I have an old picture of how he looked back then, but nothing like a yearbook picture when he was playing.
Mhm.
So that's another project.
So how did your mom and dad meet?
I heard it was at a dance. At a dance at the Valley Ballroom, or
Yes, okay, yes.
remember, that's where the Inland Center is at.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And it's changed names several, but it was they had the big bands there. They had
Mhm.
Tommy Dorsey and all those big guys.
Mhm.
But that's where a lot of people met each other.
Mhm.
And like I say, and then my dad, like I say, he graduated private high school in 30, I'm going to say 36, 37. Then he went on, he didn't stop there, he went on to Riverside City College and lettered there. I've got that jacket. Because back then it was sweaters, but then they changed the jackets.
Mhm.
But I never knew him though.
So it was a wonderful combination between
Oh.
him and your mom. They were
Well-
both sports people.
Yeah, well, I ran track and cross country. I played basketball and with the guys, but I made my mark my last year. I ran cross country and I took second in CBL. Gabe Casorena Jr., who was my mom's coach, he was better than me in longer distance.
Mhm.
But we went into track, and the mile was my specialty.
Mhm.
So my last year, I took first in CBL and broke a 10-year CBL record. I broke our school record was 15 years old.
Mhm.
So, and I think I told you that I did all that. Went to CIF. I took a 5th in CIF. I didn't get anything. No scholarships or nothing. Now they sent 8. The first 8 go to
Mhm,
state.
mhm, mhm.
I didn't go to state. I only took the first 3.
Mhm.
Of course, there was less schools back then, but
Mhm.
I didn't hear from anybody.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm not going to put the blame on that because I could have gone. But then I got married. I was telling you earlier, I got married at 18. So
You got married young. You got
yeah.
married very young.
So yeah. So, but I don't. At that part, I don't regret because I've got 4 daughters. I've got 10 grandkids. I already got 9 great grandkids, and that's because we started young.
Mhm.
But
How old was Lucy when you got married?
she was 15.
15?
Yeah, I was 12. No, I was 18. I always throw that in because every time they say it, people look at me. God, you
Yeah.
animal.
Now, how did your mom get your dad to move to Colton?
Well, my dad never lived in Colton because when she got married, they went to Casablanca. That's where he lived.
Okay, okay.
And then from there, he went to San Diego when he worked for Consolidated. My brother was born in San Diego.
Uh-huh.
So from there, I guess they drafted him or he signed. I don't know. I never found out.
Mhm.
But he had died within a year after that
Mhm.
at Fort Lewis, Washington.
Mhm.
So, like I say, I was 3, but I don't remember him.
Mhm.
But I just remember how a great athlete he was.
Mhm.
Then I found out about Mom, so I had some pretty good genes there.
Yes, you did. Yes,
Yeah.
you did. Good athletic
Yeah,
genes.
so he was a good track guy and basketball. But I'll find out how, if I
So,
can
so
find
after
those
he
yearbooks.
passed away, your mom moved back
Went to Colton, yeah.
Uh-huh.
We lived there with my grandparents.
Okay.
On Walnut Street, Tobacco Road,
Mhm.
like I mentioned. And my mom worked and my grandparents, and there's probably stories the same with a lot of people. They helped raise us, so I looked at my grandma and my grandpa as another dad that I never had, and my grandmother, and my mom worked.
Where did she work?
She worked at that time at Roskin's. It was a woman's apparel where they sold mainly wedding gowns and she did very well there. She supported me and my brother. My mom remarried and that lasted 3 years, and she had a daughter, which is my half sister, Jeannie. And like I say, it only lasted 3 years. Then we moved to Northern California for 2, and then when I came back to Colton, I was already a junior. And that's where I started my running.
Mhm.
So, but my mom was a very hard worker. In her lifetime, by herself, she had bought 4 homes, not all together, one right after another. She never, but how many women could do that by themselves back then?
Mhm.
Well, she did.
Mhm.
God bless her. And I still have her. She'll be 90 in July.
Now, you mentioned you have a half-sister. Do you have
Yes.
any other brothers and sisters?
Well, you want me to get into that? I found out there was a guy that came to my house. It's already going to be 2 years. And Mel, I said, yeah. He says, I'm Ramon. I'm your brother. Well, evidently, my dad, this is before he married my mom,
Uh-huh.
was into, and he got this gal pregnant. And at the time, I found out later through him that the lady was already married, but the guy was in his deathbed and he was older than she was. And if my dad knew, I didn't know if he knew. I don't think he even knew that she was pregnant. She went to Kansas, had the baby. That's another story. He was adopted over there, but somehow he found out who his dad was. It's my dad. It was his dad. He looks more like my dad than I do.
I'll be darned.
So that's another story about my dad.
Yeah.
But like I say, it didn't happen.
But with your mom and your dad, you have another brother?
Yeah, Al.
Al, okay.
Yeah.
Is he older or younger?
He's younger. He's a year and so many months younger. He lives in Lancaster. He just retired in corrections.
Mhm.
But he barbered with me for a while when it was Los Hermanos.
Mhm.
He was there for about 10 years, then he left.
And you mentioned your family, 4 daughters?
4 daughters, yeah.
Now, Mel, you started working very early because you married very, very early.
Yes.
How did you get into barbering? Because you were a barber for how many years?
When I retired, it was 50 years, right
50
there.
years?
At the same place, yeah.
At same place?
Yeah.
And that's where?
On the corner of Rancho and Mill,
Uh-huh.
yeah, where there's a Stater Brothers Center there.
Mhm.
Yeah, lived more than half my life there. And people ask me, do you miss, I said, I don't miss the work or cutting hair, but I miss the people.
Mhm.
Because, sometimes you have to become a people person.
Mhm.
And there at the end, mostly there was guys that I'd been cutting their hair for 20 years or more, and I'd already done second, third generation kids.
Now, how did you get into barbering?
My mom suggested it. But like I say, when I was young and I got married young, and luckily for me, my mom was getting help from the veterans people. And through them, I was able to get the barbering paid for with the veterans.
Veterans benefit because of your dad.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And to this day, my mom still gets her checks from the VA.
Hmm.
So she's lucky there.
So the VA paid for your training as a barber?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But she's the one that made like I told you earlier, she used to cut my hair till I was about 12.
Uh-huh.
I used to wear the flat tops, but after a while, the flat tops were this way. So she said, well, just walk this way, it'll be flat. So, but that's how, because she used to cut my grandpa's hair and
Mhm.
one of my uncles. And she suggested, and at that time, I said, I got to do something.
Mhm.
Because I never worked one day in my life, It was almost like from high school, and I went to half semester to Valley College. I had to get in there, and it's not like today, these guys get these gals pregnant and then they disappear, make other babies,
Mhm.
No, I had to do the right thing, and they made sure I did, so.
Well, congratulations, and
Yeah.
you and your family, because,
Yeah.
like you said, 4 daughters and many grandkids.
This year will be 53 years married.
Congratulations,
For
congratulations.
everybody to tell me, because I have my medical problems, because that's why I had to retire. I have
Mhm.
clogged arteries, but they always say, hey, Mally, well, you look pretty good. I said, well, you haven't checked under the hood. So that's where all the problems are.
Mel, you grew up in Colton.
Yes.
You grew up in Colton. Now tell me, back in those days, we had social clubs.
Yeah.
The guys would get together, and the guys from one of the barrios would be their group. Guys from Las Palomas would be another group. The guys from the Calle Cinco would be another group.
The Nicle. They call it the Nicle,
La
yeah.
Nicle.
Yeah.
Now, what were some of the names of these different groups that we had in Colton?
Well, back then they called them gangs, but I look back and they were social because we were sponsored by that what was that?
Oh, Congress of Community Clubs?
And they were elderly men,
Uh-huh.
and each gang, I'm gonna call them gangs, but they weren't, we never caused any problems.
What were the names of the,
Well, my gang was the Emperors.
and who was your advisor, sponsor from the Congress
I
of
think
Community
it
Clubs?
was Mr. Manuel, was it Manuel Padilla?
Manuel Padilla was
Yeah.
your advisor?
Yeah, and then they had the Conquistadores,
Uh-huh.
who lasted for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget who they sponsored, but they had somebody else. And then they had the Solteros,
Mm-hmm.
Bobby Amador.
The
Deacon Bobby
Deacon
Amador.
Bobby
Yeah,
Amador.
but they were all good guys.
But it was just kind of a hangout kind of a group.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't to go start trouble or, shoot people. It's ugly now. It's ugly. And we got along. All the the clubs got together. We all went to school together, and there was never any problems.
Mhm.
Later on, there was other gangs the boleros,
Mhm.
but those were older guys that hung out on 7th Street.
Mhm.
But those were the rough guys.
Yeah.
They were older.
But I'm surprised that the Congress of Community Clubs members would go out of their way
They
to
did.
work with you folks.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd have our meetings, and one of them was there during the meetings, but they'd keep after us, and they did a good job. 'Cause
Mhm.
most of in fact, one of the guys that's gonna be at the Hall of Fame, Ruben Acevedo,
Mm-hmm.
he was in my gang,
Mm-hmm.
and he's got a brother, Richard, who went on to college. That guy's a brain. I don't know if you know Richard.
He's an accountant.
Yeah, very smart man. Always was. Always was. So, like I say, a lot of he became a correction officer, Art Reynosa.
Mm-hmm.
You know the Reynosa.
Yes,
you went-
yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So, like I say, most of them became law-abiding good guys.
So the majority of quote gang
Gang.
unquote members became active members and participants in our community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I got a funny, when we had the Emperors, there was only a couple of guys that had the jackets because we couldn't afford the jackets.
Mhm.
So we would share. You have it for 2 days, and but at that time, we all could fit in it, so that Conquistadores, all of them had, so they had a little bit more money, and they were in existence a little longer.
Who was the president of the Conquistadores? You
Jack, Joaquin Granado,
Ah, they're still
he was
around.
he was the original.
Yeah.
And
Who was
he's-
your president?
I'm trying to think. I think Ray Marquez, who was a very good friend of mine. He was from New Mexico, and he was brand new in the community, but he wound up being my best friend who passed away. And he married, I don't know if you remember Helen Cortez, Sharon Cortez.
Yes.
Yeah, that's who he married. But-
And Deacon Bob's
Oh,
group, who was their
so
president?
I don't know who their president was. Could have been Deacon Bob,
Uh-huh.
because he's still a leader. You know
Yes,
that
he
guy?
is. Yes,
Very
he
good
is.
man.
Yeah.
I mean, he does a great job for the community. Still,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
whenever there's a funeral or when they're in need of a rosary or something, he's there, Johnny on the spot.
Mhm.
But he's a good man. He's a good man.
Let me see. As club members, Mel, you guys got together almost every day,
Yeah,
and you palled around and pushed each other and
Yeah.
made fun of each other
Yeah.
and do all those crazy things that.
well, and on weekends
good
we
friends
do our
do.
little refreshments.
Well, I was going to ask you, what did you guys do for entertainment? Did you have dances or
Well, we,
getting together
well,
or
there was one-
baseballs?
Yeah, well, we didn't do too much. We had a basketball game one time against the Holy Barbarians. You remember the
Yes,
Holy?
yes, yes, yes,
Okay,
yes.
that was Turo and the older guys.
Yeah.
But we had no problems with it. That was another club.
Uh,
But there was one year, I think we did have a dance with the Conquistadores. We just merged and had it, and I even forget what we did with the money, but we never made big money.
Uh-huh.
I remember one year, I was a treasurer. So one year there was this old 49 Chevy that was being sold, and amongst all of us, we bought it. I think it was only $50, just barely ran, but we would use it to go to the Hidden Lake over up near Piccolo Pete's, the restaurant over there.
Yes, yes,
There was
yes,
like
yes.
a little hidden lake there that we'd go to until it broke. We left it it broke down, so we left it at Charlie Avoyta's place, so he could work in it. Well, the next day we came up, they had broken all the windows. We just said, you can keep it, it's yours.
So anyway, you guys got together, you went swimming, you went to
Oh, yeah.
parties.
Right, we went to we call them the sequias, the canals.
Yes.
Going swimming. Yeah, we used to go to High Grove. Ruben Acevedo, Art Reynosa, Bobby Fernandez, those three were on their club. Well, they all married three sisters from High Grove, the Diaz sisters. And I think they're all still married except Bobby is divorced with his ex-wife, yeah. But that's what we did. We were still young and dumb, but we had a good time. On weekends, we go to dances, we go to parties. They had the garage parties at different homes.
Okay.
And the way they got spread around was at school. There was little invitations that they'd spread around. But that's what we did. Had a good time. But I couldn't get in trouble because by the time I was 18, I was out of the club. I was married, and so that continued. I was out of that. So.
Do you remember any of the music that was popular during your era when you guys were palling around?
Yeah, and they're still popular now because even my kids love the old, Donna and all the great songs that were. Yeah. A lot of songs. Yeah. The Penguins and
Earth Angel?
Yeah. There was a lot of songs. And they're still popular now. But there were songs you could, even the guys singing the songs, they would all dress nice. Now they go with T-shirts or no shirt, and they're making millions of dollars, and they can't even dress right. Bad. But we used to have good, and like I say, those songs continue. Even to my kids, And even, that's why they have them on PBS all the time, the doo-wop. And you send in money, and a lot of those guys are old. But I'm old too, so.
We're old. Yeah. I was going to ask you, Mel, is there a difference now? How different is Colton now from comparing when you grew up to looking at Colton now?
Well, of course, back then, all the Mexicanos were in South Colton.
We all lived there. We all lived there, right.
But you go back there now, it looks the same, but I don't know any of the people because a lot of them are people that have come from Mexico, and the ones that lived there, they're all living in North Colton. But Colton altogether is probably 70% Mexicano, Chicano. So, and now you're looking at mayors and councilmen that are where you didn't see that before. When I was growing up, it was Mel Fuchs and Caney from the meat guy, but now now we see a lot of Mexicanos now, which a lot of them were my customers. Max Lofi is not Mexicano. He's married to Bob Alvarez's sister. Great guy. Great guy. I've never heard anything bad about him. But
Bob was a principal
at McKinley for a while. I think he went to Bloomington later.
Right. Crestmore Elementary School.
Yes, great guy. And his boys, I think, became lawyers. Yeah, so he was a great guy. But there was, like I say, everybody, they all live in the north side now, where we weren't allowed. I remember as a kid, we'd come over here to the north side to go mow lawns because the Anglos paid more money. So we'd come over here.
But Mel, I don't remember having a lawn in my house.
I know.
I don't know what
well,
a
we
lawn
used
was.
their lawn more because we didn't have one. Yeah, it was just now we had a lawn, but it was just devil grass,
Yeah.
And we had no street. That's why I never learned how to skate.
No sidewalks,
No
curb
sidewalk.
and gutters. Huh?
Yeah, no sidewalk, curb, not even a street. So,
when they integrate the junior high school, Wilson and Roosevelt,
Yeah.
in 53, 54,
Yeah.
and the new school was located in the north side of town.
Exactly.
That's when I saw my first lawn, sidewalk, and curb and gutter.
Well, I saw them earlier when I was mowing.
Yeah.
But it was nice, and now I lived there. I've been there for. In fact, I bought my house, the one I'm living in, back in '65. It's still there, but Yeah, things have changed that way where they're all, on the north side and everybody knows everybody and like I say, it's great.
Well, the other thing that I've noticed about Colton is that almost everybody is related to everybody else.
Don't talk bad about anybody because, hey, that's my primo or that's, you can't. You better find out first. Hey,
Yeah.
you're related to somebody. Okay, now I can.
And you mentioned Max Lofi.
Oh,
Well,
great guy.
well, even the gringos have gotten into the picture. They're related to us now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I knew his other sister, Velia, was married to Jim Barthol, who was a mail carrier. He played for the Mercury's. Just a little guy, but he must have been good. Because my wife Lucy cleaned their house for a lot of years. Now they're both they're both gone now. Natalie and Max are still. They live down the block from where they live. But like I say, yeah, they've integrated, through marriage and stuff like that.
So it's completely different now.
Oh well, I've got two granddaughters who married two black guys, which was kind of, because that's just the way we were brought up, and I'm sure the Anglos are brought up the same way. But I've learned that when they were born and I see them, I love them just as much as they're mine. My blood, my wife's blood are in them too. So that's the way I am now. So one's married to, their parents are from Guatemala, so, but they're still Latinos. But that's the way you see. You see a lot of Mexicanas or Mexicanos with black girls or Asians, but that's the way things. I think they handle it better probably than maybe we did.
Yeah, because we were indoctrinated with a bias.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I can go back. There was a story when we went to Garfield, and we'd have our lunch. There was a big. I don't know if you probably ate there. There was a big table set, and we would eat our lunch just on the table. There was no. And I'd take my paper bag, and the other guys with their and they would eat the burrito. We didn't call them burrito; they were tacos. Burrito
Right.
came later on. And they were eating it in the bag, just like you see these guys drinking their beer in the bag. And I'm thinking, that's how the Anglos made us ashamed to be Mexicanos. But then the teacher started, hey, I want a burrito, or they didn't call them burritos, so they'd give you that ugly bologna sandwich, But that's the way it was, We couldn't speak Spanish. Of course, I never learned Spanish like my wife because they spoke language at home, English too. But I remember my grandparents were broken English, but my mom was mostly English, which I was glad, because, and I don't look down on guys that have an accent. They were born and raised here, but they do because they spoke both languages. But that's the way it was back then. That's the way. We had one black guy, Johnny Lewis, and he lived on Florida. No, he lived on Congress, yeah. Only black guy. Him and his sister. Varsity basketball, varsity football, and track. When I got my gold medal for the mile when I broke the record, well, he's the one that got it for. They called it the long jump. He was the broad jump back then. Great guy, good athlete. But we accepted him. He was one of us. He was one of us. But those are sometimes the little things I remember from school.
Yeah. We're getting to the end of our interview, Mel. Is there anything that comes to mind that you would like to share with us? Any war stories that come to mind?
What do you mean war stories?
Yeah, well, just things that happened to you that are very memorable.
Well, no, not really. I remember we used to go into, because the girls from the other cities were always better looking, and even though I married a cool girl, but that's the way it was. The guys from Purdue were here, guys from Redlands from here, and I went to Redlands one time and went to this party, and I met a girl there, and of course the guys from Redlands don't like that, So they kind of broke up the thing, and because there was more of them, and we were a little tipsy then, and I don't know, I got a little scar right here.
Battle scar, right?
Battle scar, yeah. I thought, we went back in the house we were at, and I thought it was just a bloody nose, but my nose, this part here, if they would've just made the complete circle here, I would've looked like Phantom of the Opera, you know, Mr. Nostril. But luckily, they were able to sew it up, but that's about the worst thing that ever happened to me, but we had no business going there. You just don't, because we did the same thing to guys from Purdue if they came to Colton. I mean, we wouldn't kill them or like that.
And how old were you when that happened?
Well, I was either my end of my junior year, yeah, right around that time, senior year. And I look back, because I smoked because it was just everybody smoked. And I drank on weekends. But that's part of the, you know,
Culture.
and I always look back, I says, God, if I want to smoke or drink, maybe I would have gotten a first in CIF. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I look back and says, I had fun. I remember my coach, when he took us to CIF finals, he told me the night before, hey Mel, let's go, we'll get a motel, we'll get a good dinner, sleep early. And I says, no, but at the Civic Auditorium, they got and I didn't want to miss any of that. You know, when you're growing up, you don't want to miss nothing. So I didn't go, and I did good, but I could have done better. So you always give up something when you do something.
Yeah.
So.
And how long have you been retired now?
I was a year this past December on the 22nd. What I did, the last day I was there, we got to get together like a potluck with my kids and my wife, and I invited as many customers as I could to just come, whether they got a haircut or not that day, just come and we'll feed you, and we had the works. And that was just for the one day, but I did that because I was thanking them for going to the shop for all those years. And then later this last March, my kids put on a dance with Ron Cabrera on this band. You've heard them, very good. And they had one of my grandkids hired a trio that are very good, and they played for an hour. And like I say, most of the people that went were my customers. So then when I announced, this is for you, I said, this is my thank you to you. And I meant it sincerely. And that was my farewell speech. And of course, they're all pissed off, mad at me because I'm not cutting their hair. Now they butchered me, or that, you know, because I've been cutting their hair.
Well, that's a wonderful legacy on your part.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I say, I don't miss the cutting hair. I just miss
Yeah.
the people. And sometimes, like Christmas, I called a bunch of them and I wished them a happy holiday and all that. And they're still. One of them says, "Are you back to work?" When they heard it was me calling. No, don't. So, but it was in fun.
Good.
But I can't be there forever.
No. Mel, thank you so much for being with us this afternoon.
It was my pleasure.
And you have an open invitation, so we can come back and tell us about your other project, working with the old timers.
Yeah.
And then
Maybe I can get them in.
And then the next project, the history of the Mercury program.
Yes.
We'll have that open invitation too.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this.
Thank you.